Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 10 of FTB Infinity Evolved Skyblock. Last episode we were working on a little bit of Thaumcraft as well as a bit of immersive engineering creating this metal press over here. And since the end of last episode I have been working pretty hard on setting up this thing over here which is now automatically hammering down and sifting gravel, sand and dust. We have the exact same system that we have over here for gravel replicated for sand and then for dust with a few more compressors and a few more of these auto-compressed hammers so that we can turn the cobblestone into gravel, the gravel into sand, the sand into dust, and then sift it all down here at the bottom. And it's working pretty well. So we have the exact same setup, and we have a transfer node on top which is pulling out all of the non-smeltable items into a chest above it. In this case, we got diamonds, apatite, lapis, emeralds, and coal. Over here, we got a bunch of other stuff, charged Certus quartz, cocoa beans, all that kind of stuff. And then in this one over here, of course, we have redstone, glowstone, bone meal, gunpowder, the whole works, and everything else is going down into the auto compressor and then getting pumped around up and into this chest over here so they can go through, get pulverized, get smelted, and end up in this chest over here, at which point currently we are manually taking them and depositing them into our system of storage drawers. You may also notice that I have upgraded a few of these storage drawers. A couple of them have this kind of like silver outline around them, and all I've done here is made the storage upgrade Mark II, which doubles the amount of stuff that each storage drawer can hold. For example, this one here originally could hold 32 stacks of iron. It can now hold up to 64 stacks of iron. The same is true for the lapis and the tin, and it looks like we are already capping out the amount of iron that this thing can hold. You'll see at the top there it's holding 4,096 iron, and we have too much. We have more of it in our inventory. We cannot put this into the storage drawer because it's full, so we might want to look into creating one of these gold upgrades. I think we could probably make that fairly easily because we have a few of these left. Sticks we have in abundance, and gold we have quite a lot of as well. I'm not too sure if these affect stack. This one increases the storage by 3 times. I'm not quite sure if you can add one on when it's already got another one on. I've never actually used the upgrades from the storage drawers mod before, but it totally doesn't work. It can now hold up to 5 times the amount that it can originally hold. If you look at the top there, it says stack limit, 160 stacks of iron is what we can now store within the storage drawer. Pretty cool stuff. But we have run into a few issues between this episode and last episode. The first of which is to do with our tree farm over here. You'll notice that it is not really a tree farm right now. It's more of a forest. And the reason for that is because our cart has stopped working. At the top here, you can see the woodcutter has completely run out of durability. So it's broken, and it says that we need to repair it with diamonds. So, if we come over here, we now have significantly less diamonds than we had at the end of last episode because I used a ton of them making all of those auto-compressed hammers. But, thanks to the sifting system itself, we do in fact still have quite a lot of them. Let's quickly throw some diamonds into this guy over here. That should quickly go ahead and repair the durability. It does take a little bit of time, but I think all 4 of those should maybe fill it up, possibly. I think you get 40,000 durability per diamond, and so for 4 of them, we'd only get 160,000, which is about half full, but that should last it quite a while nonetheless. And another issue that we ran into since the end of last episode is an issue of power. I've gone ahead and made 2 more of these steam dynamos over here, so we now have 5 of these things, generating 400 redstone flux per tick, but the problem that we're having is not with the amount of power that we're generating, it's how much we can transfer from place to place, because there are a few bottlenecks within our system. The first of which is this leadstone energy cell here. All of our energy is coming out of this leadstone energy cell and then being transferred by these LV wires all around to all of our machines. And with this big new setup, every single one of these hammers requires 40 redstone flux per tick to run. You can kind of see it over there. If I turn any eye off, you can see it quite clearly. It requires 40 redstone flux per tick to run. The same is also true for all the rest of the compressed hammers, as well as all of the auto heavy sieves, which means that we need a lot more than the current max output of 200 redstone flux per tick that the leadstone energy cell can output. So this thing can only output 200. These cables, the LV wires, can only carry a maximum of 256 total. And so what we need to do is we need to upgrade, and also, by the way, our leadstone flux ducts are hiding underneath there, taking the power from the steam dynamos to all of the machines and to the leadstone energy cell, are also capped out at 200 redstone flux per tick. If we grab one of these from over here and take a look, it says max transfer rate is 200 redstone flux. And so we need to upgrade a few things so that we can get all 400 of the redstone flux that we're producing to go through into the energy cell and then get transferred out to all of these machines over here. And we're going to start that by upgrading our leadstone energy cell here to a hardened energy cell and upgrading all of our leadstone energy flux ducts to hardened energy flux ducts as well. So if we go ahead and type in hardened, we can see we have the hardened energy cell. To make that, we can use our normal leadstone energy cell here, which need 4 invar, 2 bronze electron tubes, 1 electronic circuit from Industrial Craft 2, as well as 1 redstone conductance coil. So the hardest thing in there is probably going to be the electronic circuit, but we'll start with the thermionic thermogenic fabricator. I moved the thermogenic fabricator back here and stuck my energetic infuser down on the end of this line just so it was a little bit easier to hook it up with power, and I also made some space for this 5th dynamo and moved the water source over a little bit. I also rearranged some other stuff, like I made the metal press shorter, and I moved the rock crusher to behind all of my stuff over there, mostly just rearranging everything and making it so things could fit. So let's go ahead and hook up our thermogenic fabricator to a little bit of power. For now, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my compressor because I don't think we're actually going to need the compressor in today's episode, but we are going to need the thermogenic fabricator in order to make these bronze electron tubes. Thankfully, we now have quite a bit of bronze and a ton of redstone, thanks to the dust sifting system that we've had running for quite a while over on the end there. So if we go ahead and stick you guys not like that at all. Ooh, that is not good. All of our... Okay, that makes sense. I put some blocks of coal into the steam boiler before the episode started because there was no charcoal left. I thought it was because the tree farm had stopped working, but it is partly due to the fact that all of our charcoal is being stored in the thermogenic fabricator, which is not at all where it should be stored. So, let me come back over here real quick. We should have some of these cobblestone covers, which I've been using quite a bit over there to stop wires from touching other machines. And if we put one of these right about there, that's going to stop the pipe here from touching the thermogenic fabricator. And now we can just take all of this charcoal, stick some of it into the steam boiler to make sure this thing keeps running, and we can put the rest of it back into the system over here, which is down there. That's not quite enough space. Actually, we can probably put the rest of it back into the cargo manager here, and then that will get pulled out and slowly go through into the steam boiler again as it normally would. So let me grab a little bit of sand from over here. We don't have much sand, to be fair, but let's throw some of that into the thermogenic fabricator. Let's put the recipe in like so, and that should start to make us some of those bronze electron tubes, albeit probably fairly slowly, because right now, like I said before, all of the power is kind of being used up by our machines, and also it helps if you do this in the right order. So let's put the bronze in the middle and the redstone either side like that. Let me quickly grab a little bit more bronze from over here. We should probably look into making a bit more of that. That says no power, so we have to wait a little while for power to transfer over into here. Like I said, this thing is pretty low on power right now because all of these machines are trying to use it. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's look into making the electronic circuit. For that, we're going to need some copper cables as well as some rubber. We do have a bunch of sticky resin over here which we can stick into the furnace and get that smelted up into some actual rubber, which we can then use to make our insulated copper cables. Do we have any copper wires lying around in the chest over here? We got 4, but we're going to need a little bit more than that if we want to set up a fully electronic circuit. So let's grab a piece of copper, let's stick it into the metal former over here, make sure that it's on extruding, I believe is what we need to get it into wire form, possibly. Maybe? We'll find out in a second. I'm not too sure on the extruding. I always get extruding and cutting the wrong way around. Does that make us cables? It does. Okay, cool. So we'll take those. Once the rubber is ready, we can make those into copper cables. Now all that we're missing is the redstone conductance coil, which is some electrum and some redstone. We did, I think, make some electrum last episode, but we may have used all of it. No, we've got an ingot there. Beautiful. Let's take that. Let's combine it up with some redstone in our crafting table to get us a conductance coil. Cool stuff. And then all we're missing now is the bronze electron tubes, an iron plate, and some redstone. So an iron plate, again, super easy to do. Make sure this is back in rolling mode. Is this anywhere near done? It is nowhere near done because it is not smelting up that glass there. We should probably... Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this entire system for the time being. I'm going to turn that off. I did do some rewiring. All of the wiring is coming out of the top now, going over to here, and then each one of these rows kind of has like its own strip of power that are all connected in the middle there. I should probably put my jetpack on so we can do a bit of flying, but they all kind of connected up along this line and then individually along their own lines. So that's working quite nicely. This should now be getting the bulk of the power, which it is, so those electron tubes should be ready any minute now. Whilst we're waiting for those to finish, the recipe for the hardened flux duct is 2 redstone chipsets, 4 redstone, 2 steel plates, and 1 hardened glass. I did use most of my refined iron between this episode and last, making all of those compressed hammers, each of which I think required 6 steel. So we did use quite a lot of it. Thankfully, it's fairly easy to make. So if we take some of that, all we need to do is turn 2 of those into plates over here. We can go 1, 2, grab 2 more redstone from over here to put into the assembly table. Like so. That should go ahead and start making us the redstone chipsets, and then after that we are pretty much good to go. All we need is the hardened glass, which you can make using lead and obsidian dust in the induction smelter. So what we should probably do pretty quickly here is grab a little bit more obsidian. Once we've got ourselves some obsidian, we can throw that into the pulverizer, and then all we gotta do after that is combine that obsidian up with a little bit of lead. Let's also take the rubber out of there. We don't have any lead lying around in that chest, but we do have quite a bit over here. the bronze electron tubes should be pretty much done. They are. I'll go ahead and take those. I don't want to craft any more, but we did accidentally craft an extra 4 there. And now do we have everything it takes to make this? We might do. Let's go ahead and make 6 of these. Then let's go ahead and make 1 of those. And now I think all that we need is this guy here, the leadstone energy cell, as well as 4 invar, which we should have over here at the bottom. Let's take 4 of those. Let's quickly grab our original cell from over here. I think the power that's already in it should transfer over into the new cell if I'm not mistaken. And let's do something like that. Nice. And now we have ourselves a hardened energy cell which can transfer up to 800 redstone flux in either direction. We do want to make sure that we turn it all the way up so that it can input and output 800 redstone flux per tick, which should be more than enough for now. All of these machines do not consume anywhere near more than 800 redstone flux per tick. And also our steam dynamos back here do not produce more than 800 for the time being as well. So let's take that obsidian, let's throw it into the induction smelter with our lead, like so. That should go ahead and produce us some of the hardened glass that we're going to need to make ourselves the flux ducts. These chipsets are also done. We can take those. Our steel plates should also be done over in here. They are. Let's go ahead and take all of those. Come back over to our crafting station. Do something like this and get ourselves our first set of hardened flux ducts, which can also carry up to 800 redstone flux per tick. Nice. Now, the way that conduits work is that they say they can transfer up to so much. And basically what that means is that they can carry an unlimited amount of redstone flux, but then they can transfer 800 at either end. So, for example, these ones down here that we currently have can currently transfer unlimited amounts of redstone flux, but can input and output 200 at either end. So all we need to do is get rid of this one in the middle and put one of these down in order for this to work. We don't have to replace all of these with hardened flux ducts because the steam dynamos here are not producing more than 200, and the machines that are connected to the other end of the flux ducts, like this pulverizer over here, are not using more than 200 either. This one's only using 40, and so we don't need to upgrade the rest of these flux ducts. We only need to upgrade the one that's touching the hardened cell, and that should allow it to fully receive the 400 redstone flux per tick that is being produced by the rest of these if we go ahead and stick this guy back down and start providing steam again to these machines. And then the final bottleneck that we talked about is the wires, because like I said, the LV wires that we're using right now can only carry up to 256 redstone flux per tick. However, the MV wires, which are the next tier up, can carry up to 1024 redstone flux per tick, significantly more than we are producing and than the hardened energy cell can actually output. So let's quickly make sure the bottom of this is set to input and make sure the top is set to output. That should start to receive power fairly quickly. And then let's go ahead and make ourselves some of these MV wire connectors and MV wire coils. These ones, instead of using copper, are made using electrum. So let's grab ourselves quite a bit of gold and silver, throw all of that into the induction furnace. That's going to make us quite a bit of electrum. We then need the 4 standard hardened clay to make the MV wire connectors, as well as 3 iron in the middle. So if we come over to one of our chests, I know I made these before the episode started, and I have them probably in here. Yeah, there they are. Let's grab 3 iron, which we already have. Let's look at getting ourselves some of this electrum. We should have some treated wood over here. We do, so making some treated sticks should be fairly easy like so. And then all we need to do is put the clay in the corner, the iron in the middle, and we get ourselves some MV wire connectors, which, if we then combine up with the MV wire coils, allows us to transfer up to 1024 redstone flux per tick. Now, much like with the conduits down here, the wires don't all need to be replaced with HV wires because not all of these machines are using more than that 256 redstone flux per tick. And so I think all that we need to do is have one of them here and then one of them up here. And if we do something like this and then connect this up to here, that's now transferring all 800 redstone flux per tick out of this thing here up and into all of these machines. I think we should be able to do something like this. I haven't tested it, but can I connect those to there? I cannot attach that wire to there. That is really annoying. I was hoping that I could downgrade from one wire to another. I think you can do that with a transformer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away, guys. I'm going to replace all of these LV wire connectors with MV wire connectors. I'm going to replace all of the LV wires with MV wires. I'll be back in a second. And a little while later, we now have something that looks like this. All of our machines within this setup are all connected up using these MV wires and NV wire connectors. However, we are still not quite producing enough power to get these things running. They are now all receiving maximum power, and this is a little bit overkill for some of these machines, by the way. For example, these auto compressors can only use a maximum of 5 redstone flux per tick. So giving them MV wire connectors isn't really necessary, but you cannot connect MV wire connectors to LV wire connectors without using a transformer. and we would need quite a lot of transformers in order to get this to work quite nicely, and so I've decided to just go ahead and throw down MVY connectors on every single one of these. But after doing some calculations, in order to run all of this, including all of the compressors, we need about 420 redstone flux per tick. That's not including the 40 redstone flux per tick needed to run the pulverizer, the 20 redstone flux per tick needed to run the redstone furnace, as well as any amount of redstone flux it takes to run the rest of the machines. And so we're still not quite producing enough power now right at the source with these steam dynamos in order to run our whole setup. And so some of the machines, actually most of the machines here, apart from the compressors, which only require 5 redstone flux per tick, are all kind of low on redstone flux and are therefore working much slower than they normally would. So in the future, we are going to have to invest in a few more of these steam dynamos. I might even do that at some point in today's episode, try and squeeze some more in. I'm not quite sure where we'd put those because we've kind of run out of space behind these machines here, but we'll figure that out in the future. For now, this is working, albeit a little bit slow, but it's faster than it was working at the beginning of today's episode, and its speed doesn't really matter all too much anyway because we have a ton of ingots and we're not really tight for normal resources now because we've got all this redstone, glowstone, all of the bone meal, all this stuff's coming through. Even if it's very slowly, it's still coming through too fast for us to use it, and we're still getting a nice backlog of stuff in these storage drawers over here. So it's pretty cool nonetheless. And now what I would like to start working on is a little bit more Thorncraft. So last episode, we made a bit of a derp. We started trying to make ourselves some great wood so that we could make the table. Realized that the table didn't require great wood, instead it required living wood. But by the end of the episode, we had ourselves some tables, and we kind of stopped there because we need to get ourselves a quill in order to start with some research. So, like I said before, if we bring out our Thaumonomicon and we look inside of it here, all of this stuff, a lot of these like icons here are all grayed out, and some of them are flashing. The ones that are flashing are the ones that we can start to research. So if we look at this one here, gold 1 capped, the reason why I'm looking at that one is because if we go back to the guide here, go back to Thorncraft, down here, after we've made the iron capped wooden wand, the next thing that the guide recommends we do is make a golden capped wooden wand, and the way that we're going to do that is, of course, by getting ourselves some golden caps. You'll see it in red text there. It says you need scribing tools and paper to get this research note. So, paper is really easy to get. It's just sugarcane. Scribing tools are a little bit harder. The way that we get ourselves some scribing tools, which are these ones over here, there are a bunch of different ones from Forbidden Magic, where after the base ones from Thorncraft, the way that we get those is with a glass file, which is just clay, and 3 mana glass, as well as a feather, which is why we have the chicken farm, and some form of ink. Now, unfortunately, we cannot use Britannia's black dye from the black flowers in order to do that, so we actually have to get black ink, most likely from a squid. And so what I've done between episodes is set up a bit of a squid area, or an area for a squid to spawn over here. Also, I'm not quite sure how this guy got out, but he is now our source of feathers, and I'm not quite sure why, but we do not have any squid spawning in here. I took a look at the wiki. They should spawn between Y level 42 and I think it's like 64. This one is currently at Y level 53 down to 49, so I think they should spawn. However, they're not. So I asked some people on the server why the squid weren't spawning, and they told me about a new item added by X-Compressum, the same mod that adds the heavy compressors and the heavy hammers, and they told me that you can actually get baits, which are all these ones over here, and kind of force certain animals to spawn. For instance, this one over here, squid bait, must be placed in water, will kind of lure a squid in. It's not really coming from anywhere, but it will force a squid to spawn within the water over there. And to make that, we need 2 raw fish. To get 2 raw fish, we of course need a fishing rod. And so what I did between episodes is got myself a fishing rod. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to do a wee bit of fishing, see if I can get myself any 2 fish. I'll be back in a second. And 2 fish later, now we can go ahead and craft those up into normal fish like so. We can then craft both of those normal fish into some squid bait, and then we can go ahead and stick that squid bait down in the water over here. And now it says the bait will work in this environment, move out of range so you don't scare the animals away. And so now I think all we have to do is leave that over there, come back to it in a second, and there should be a squid there. I'm not 100% sure if that's how that works, but I'm going to assume it is. We'll charge by jetpack. We will throw down these 2 tables somewhere over here. These are going to be our research table. I'll put them here for now. All of our magic stuff is kind of crammed in over here, but at some point we will arrange this. Once we get more magic stuff, it'll get its own section. I'll kind of expand the island out a little bit. But also last episode, whilst we're waiting for the squid to spawn, we were looking for aura nodes. We made our jetpack and we started flying around, and since the end of last episode, I have found 5 aura nodes in total. We don't have a minimap mod installed because you don't really need one for a skyblock, but it also means we can't put waypoints down. And so what I've had to do is stick down some signs which tell me where the aura nodes are and what aspects they contain. For example, we've got one at X974 and Y12515. I haven't put Y on there because they're all kind of like about Y10. They're all really close to the void. This one contains air and aqua, aqua and terra, air, aqua and terra, aqua and order. We are in an ocean biome, if you look there on the left, and so most of the nodes I was finding around here are ocean ones, and so I went to spawn. You'll see these signs say near spawn. I went back to the server spawn. We are on a server. If I do /ft spawn, it takes me back to this big island where we start on the server, and I did a bit of jetpack flying around trying to find some aura nodes near here, and I did find a few, and I found at least one that contained Ignis, which is the fire aspect, and so we now, if we go to our wooden wand here and shift, we have a full iron-capped wooden wand with 25 of each of the base aspects, and we have 5 aura nodes that we can go back to at any time if we would like to drain some. If we look over the edge here, I'm fairly certain we can see a few of them from where we are. We can. Let me also pick this lava up. I put that down just to empty a bucket, but you'll see there's one over there in that little cobblestone platform. I put some cobblestone down so that I could land and then like then start to charge my wand up, because last episode we tried charging our wand whilst flying and it didn't really work all too well, so I built some cobblestone platforms. You can build onto the aura nodes, like you can right click on them and place cobblestone down, and so we have one over there, a few more roundabout, and then of course some near spawn as well. Now, do we have any squid is the question, because if we do, we can start to do some stuff. If we don't, then we don't. Okay, well, whilst we're waiting for that, we should probably work on getting ourselves the glass vial required to make the scribing tools. For that, we're going to need 3 mana glass as well as 1 clay, and for that, we're going to need some normal glass. So let me go ahead and take 3 of those. Let's throw these into the mana pool over here. Clay, I think we actually are out of, because I used quite a bit of it to make all of these MV wire connectors. So let's come back over here. I did, however, put down this thing, this oak barrel. I moved it from over there so we can make ourselves some more clay using dust and water. Let me quickly just throw this in here to make some obsidian, just to kind of empty that out. Let's grab, I guess, some dust out of here, because we don't really need it in there right now. That thing is working incredibly slowly. And then let's go ahead and make ourselves one more piece of clay so we can break it down into clay balls and get ourselves the last of the stuff that we need to make the file. So let's put you there, break that down. I will now do one last check to see if we have any squid over in our pool, and if not, I'm gonna have to cut away, and it looks like I am gonna have to cut away. I'm not wearing my jetpack, so I can't fly, so I'm gonna go away, guys. I'm gonna wait and see if this thing actually turns into a squid, and I'll be back in a second. And a little while later, we now have a squid in our pool over here. We actually have a few squid in our pool. I'm not quite sure. Oh, are they all coming towards the bait? I put one down. I put one bait down. And then when I came back, there was nothing here. There was just no squid whatsoever. There was no bait. It had gone. And I just assumed that it hadn't worked. So I went fishing again, made another bait. And then that one seems to have attracted like 5 squid. So I'm not quite sure how that works or what's up with that. But we now have ourselves an ink sac. So if we come back over to our crafting table, we should be able to go ahead and do something like this. Make ourselves the vial that we need to then go ahead and make ourselves the scribing tool. Nice. So we'll take this, and then if we right-click with a scribing tool onto 2 Thaumcraft tables next to each other, much like last episode when we made the Thaumcraft Arcane Workstation, if we right-click on this one, it makes us a research table. Cool. So now, like it said in the Thaumonomicon, we need to get ourselves some paper and have the scribing tools in order for that to work. So, let's quickly grab some fertilizer here, and let's quickly grab at least 3 sugarcane. Let's take 2 and 3. We can then craft that up into some paper. We also got a zombie brain from killing a zombie. That's lovely. Let's craft that up in here like so. And now, if we grab the scribing tool, which by default, by the way, gets put into the research table, you have to take it out like this, open up the Thaumonomicon, and we will grab the research notes for gold 1 capped. Now, we have the research notes here, and what we have to do is we have to complete those research notes inside of the research table. So we have to put our scribing tools back in the top left here, the research notes in over here, and you'll now see that we have 3 different question marks. And the reason why we have 3 different question marks is those represent 3 different aspects within Thaumcraft. Now, if my memory serves me right, there are about 55 different aspects within the Thaumcraft mod. The base 6 are over here, and then all of the other ones are made using a combination of those base 6 and a combination of all the other ones that you make, and there's kind of like a tree of aspects that you can make. Now, in another window over here, I actually have a tree picture showing me all the aspects, and what you do in order to unlock other aspects. So, like, for example, we've got these base 6. If I wanted to unlock, for example, Lux, which is an aspect you make by combining air and Ignis, I have to combine those up, and you'll see I now have 3 Lux. I could have also done that, I think, by scanning torches. If we pick up a torch here real quick, we'll see that right now, if we hover over it, there's nothing there, but if I throw it down on the floor, and and then scan it with my thermometer that we made last episode, it contains 1 lux. And I'm fairly certain by scanning that, because we had air and ignis unlocked, because we knew of those aspects, we would have then just unlocked lux, at which point we could just make more of it if we want by combining ignis and air. But you can also research other aspects by combining up old ones. And so, what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to go away. I'm going to do a bunch of combinations here. For example, if we do order and air, that should make motus, which is this one down here. It did. We can then combine up, for example, order and predito over here to make permutatio, which is this one over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away, I'm going to unlock as many of these as I can. I'll put a link in the description to the image that I'm using, which is basically like a tree that shows you all of the unlocks. You can get all the combinations that make all the other combinations. It just makes life a little bit easier for doing stuff like this. I'll be back in a second once we've figured out which 3 aspects these question marks are over here. And a little while later, after doing a bunch of combinations, we now have quite a lot of aspects unlocked over here in the research table. And if we go ahead and look in the Thermonomicon here, under basic information and then under aspects of magic, if you flick across a few pages, you'll see all of the aspects we've unlocked and all of the other aspects it takes to make those aspects. For example, Arbor, which we used last episode to make some great wood, is made by combining up air and herba. And there's also a bunch of other ones in here as well. We haven't quite got them all yet, but we've unlocked quite a lot of them, and we've unlocked enough to discover all of the aspects over here on this side. And so all we need to do now is connect these up. So this is the way the Thaumcraft research works. What you gotta do is you have to connect these up using aspects that are used in all 3 of these, if that makes sense. So for example, Instrumentum is made, this one over here, is made by combining up Humanus and Order. So if I was to put either Humanus or Order underneath here, a little line would be formed. For example, let's put some Order down. Order is a pretty universal one because it's one of the basic 6. There is now a connection there because Humanus plus Order makes Instrumentum. And now we need to find a way to connect Order up to Metallum over here. Now Metallum is made using Terra and Vitreous. Yeah, Vitreous over here. So it's made using Vitreous and Terra. So to do that, we can either put Vitreous down or Terra. If we look up the recipe for Vitreous, Vitreous is made using Order and Terra. So what we're going to do is we're going to put down some Vitreous here. And then we need to connect that Vitreous up to this Order. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put down a Terra over here, because Terra plus Order makes Vitreous. And now we can put another Vitreous down here. And that now makes a line that connects from Instrumentum down to Metallum. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I was explaining that all too well. But basically, Vitreous here is used in the making of Metallum. Terra is used in the making of Vitreous. Terra is used to make Vitreous. And then Order is used in the making of Vitreous as well. And then Order is used to make Instrumentum. So they all connect to it quite nicely. And then in order to make this one down over here, Lucrum is made using Fames, which is this one over here, or Fames, I'm not quite sure, along with Humanus, so just like the Instrumentum over here. And so what we can probably do here is throw down some Fames there, put Lucrum down again here, and then connect Lucrum to Instrumentum via Humanus, because they both use Humanus. And then once you've connected all 3 of the aspects up, sometimes, by the way, when you do this research, there'll be more than 3, sometimes I think there'll be less than 3. I think there were some researchers that just have 2 aspects, there were some that have like 7, but once you've connected them all up, you unlock the research, which we can then take, right click, and we have now discovered. You'll see the top left there, if the jetpack wasn't on, we have now discovered Golden 1 capped. And if we look into the Thermonomicon, back down under Thaumaturgy, we have now actually unlocked Golden 1 capped. It's no longer flickering, it's not blacked out, it's solid, which means we can now open it and see the research. It's not particularly hard research. This one basically just tells us that we can make golden caps by using golden nuggets, as well as some Order, some Ignis, and some air. So if we come over here and grab ourselves 2 golden nuggets, this does have to be done in the arcane workstation over here, because it requires some V from our wand to complete. So let's go ahead and make some normal nuggets. You can use this thing as a normal crafting station as well. So we'll go ahead and make some of those. Do something like this. You'll see it's missing the aspects. We need to make at least 2 sets of these, because we need one either side of the wand. And then all we need to do, put our wand in. It will then drain those aspects from the wand. You'll see the wand is now missing a few of them. If we hover over it again, it's missing some. And now all that we need to do, I didn't want to type /hi, I just want to type hi to people on the server. And now all we need to do is get ourselves another stick, combine it up like this, and this, you'll see it needs 3 of every aspect in order to complete. So I'll throw this in again, and now we have a gold banded wooden wand, which is better than our normal wand, because our normal wand, you'll see, has a 110% average V cost. And basically what that means is any crafting recipe that we complete with the iron cap wooden wand requires 10% more of every single V. So every crafting recipe that we do with it is a little bit more expensive in terms of the aspects that it uses out of the wand, whereas with the gold banded one, you'll see there is no such penalty, and now it's 10% cheaper for us to do every single crafting recipe from here on out. it does mean we are going to have to go around and charge up our gold-banded wand at all of these aura nodes, and for the time being, I might do some crafting with my iron cap wand just so we get some use out of the all the aspects that are in this. For example, if we look in the guidebook, again, at the tech tree, not the tech tree, the magic tree at Thorncraft, the last few things that we need to do are make ourselves some of this arcane stone, and then make ourselves an alchemical furnace. I'm not too sure if we have to unlock the research for the alchemical furnace. I think it's over here under this one, so we'd have to do the research for nitor and alumentum. And what I'm going to do, guys, by the way, throughout the series here, is whenever we need to do some research, I'm probably going to do it either before the episode or cut away to do it because it's a little bit dull doing all of the research, trying to find stuff out. I do use, like, there is a tool, by the way, called a Thorncraft Research Helper, which helps you figure out how you can connect up all of the aspects. Like, I just did it there manually by linking up the instrumentum, the lucrum, and the metallum. I did that one manually, but there is a research helper where you can just select instrumentum, you can select lucrum, and it will show you the aspects that link them together, which makes it a lot easier. And I'll put links to all the stuff that I'm using, by the way, down in the description, so if you want to, and you're playing with Thorncraft, you can skip some of the grindiness of guessing and messing around with stuff like that by using those resources. But I'll probably do that off camera just to save some of the grindiness factor there. So let's quickly grab ourselves some living rock over here. We've got 43 of this stuff. I've been doing quite a bit of just like occasional harvesting of that stuff off camera. We're also going to need some stone, and we're also going to need to still flip and get rid of this. We need to set up a mob spawner. People have been pointing this out for quite some time now, but we need a mob spawner so that we can get some ender pearls, so we can set up something like a vacuum hopper over there to actually get rid of that stuff. And also ender pearls are useful for a bunch of other stuff as well. But we've got that. Let's quickly grab some stone, which I think is over here. It is. So we've got the stone. We do need to get ourselves some kind of shard. Last episode, we used the order shard, I think it was. So we'll go ahead and do that again. We'll throw down a bunch of these like so. And then once all of those are down, we can just grab our hammer, break these down into some order shards, which we can then combine up with some aspects in our arcane workstation. And that should provide us with some arcane stone, which is used for a lot of stuff within the magic side of things this time around. Because with expert mode, Feed the Beast have spent a lot of time integrating all of the magic mods together. So you'll notice that we're doing, normally you wouldn't need living rock from Britannia in order to make a Thorncraft item. Now you do, and you also need a lot of this arcane stone. You'll see we don't have enough feet in our gold banded one there. But if we put this one in, the recipe gets a little bit more expensive, 2.2 instead of just 2. But we can now go ahead and craft up a bunch of this arcane stone, which we can now use to make a bunch of stuff from other magic mods within the mod pack. For example, if I press U, I'm fairly certain this is used in the making of the Witch's Oven. It is. It's also, I think, used in the making of the Blood Altar, quite possibly. Do we know how to make the alchemical furnace? You'll see right now we can't click on it, and that's because we don't have the recipe unlocked from the Thaumonomicon. I don't think we can make it until we have the research unlocked. Even though the guide shows us that this is the recipe, it's some arcane stone, a furnace, and a cauldron, I'm fairly certain we have to actually unlock the research in order to do it. And so, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go away, I'm going to unlock the research for nitor, alumentum, and then this one over here, which should, I think, give us the recipe for the alchemical furnace. I'm going to go away, do all the research for that in here, and I'll be back in a second. And again, a little while later, boom, we now have the research complete for Essentia Distillation, which I think should now allow us to make this thing here, the alchemical furnace, which, like we said before, is some arcane stone bricks, a furnace, as well as a crucible. So, what we need to do again is get ourselves at least 7 iron, smelt those up in the metal former into some iron plates. For the time being, what I'm going to do is, first of all, again, empty this flipping thing out over the edge so we don't create just a ton of lag for the server. Also, fly mode is enabled. Because I'm an op on the server, fly mode enables by default whenever I log on. I think I just threw some stone away, which I didn't mean to do, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here for the time being. Hopefully I'm going to take this one anyway. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, I was a little worried that we weren't going to get it. I thought it was going to fall into the lava. Look at all this flipping stone. Jeez. But we can cool ourselves off. Let's try not to die. And then we'll make another one of these crucibles once all the iron is finished crafting into plates in the metal former. For now, let's bring this back over here. Let's grab ourselves a furnace, which you can make with all of this compressed cobblestone that we just grabbed from the floor here. And now back over to the arcane crafting table. We should be able to throw this in the middle, the crucible at the top, arcane stones all around like so. That gives us the alchemical furnace, and then we can use that alchemical furnace to make the Witch's Oven from witchery, which we're going to need if we want to progress further on into the magic tech tree, into things like blood magic. And to make this, we need the alchemical furnace, some iron bars, 2 mana steel ingots, 2 arcane stone, as well as a fire cluster. So thankfully, most of that is fairly easy to make. For example, the iron bars we can make super easily with just 6 iron. I think actually we might have some iron bars lying around somewhere from a previous craft. We do. So instead I'll just take those from there. The stone we've already got. The mana steel we might already have. I know for a fact we have at least 1 mana steel steel lying around. Let me take another ingot so we can try and make at least one more like so. I think we have another one over here. We do. And so now the only thing that we're missing for the witch's oven is this thing down here, the fire crystal cluster. To make this, we need to get some fire shards. We need 6 of them. And to get fire shards, we need to break down nether brick. And of course, the way that you make nether brick is by crafting up 4 nether brick. And to get that, we need to smelt netherrack. And the way that we get netherrack within this mod is, I believe, or this mod pack with ex nihilo, is, I believe, using the barrel that I've just sunk into the middle of nowhere. Let's go ahead and put this down for the time being, like that, and then our barrel has floated all the way over here. So the way that we make netherrack in this mod pack is by throwing down the barrel, filling it up with lava like so, and then topping it off with redstone, I believe. Let me see if we have any lying around in this chest. We do. And so I think if I right click on this with redstone, it becomes netherrack. Cool stuff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go where we're going to have to do this a bunch of times, because we need to get at least 6 of these nether bricks. Each one requires 4 nether brick. Each nether brick requires 1 netherrack. So I'm going to go where I'm going to get 24 nether brick, and I'll be back in a second. And again, a little while later, now that we have the 6 nether brick, we can throw this down. We can break it down with our ex nihilo hammer, and woo, we got a lot of iron. We got a lot of shards there. I thought we were only going to get 1 fire shard per one of those. Apparently, that is not the case. Apparently, we get 4 per nether brick, which I'm not going to complain about. We now have a bunch of extra fire shards that we can use later on down the line. And now, all that we need to do is actually go ahead and craft all of this stuff up into the witch's oven, and we should be good to go. So, all we got to do is throw in the man of steel like so, the iron bars at the top, and boom, we have ourselves a witch's oven. Nice. For the time being, I will throw this down, I guess, right about here. And the next episode, we'll come back and we'll start working a little bit on witchery, working a little bit further down. The magic tree, we'll probably do a little bit more tech as well. But with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved Skyblock there. It is episode 10, which means, as always, there will be a world download link in the description. If you want to download that and throw that into your world download file, you can do so and play along with this world. I've dumped all of my stuff away. I'll put my jetpack into this chest as well. So you'll find my stuff. It's in these chests. Everything else that I have is all around here. So you can come on. You can play this as well if you would like to play along. If not, that's fine as well. But with that, I'm going to end this episode there again. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.